I think when you really start to look at your space and to look at what is in there and is it serving you? Is it beautiful? Does it bring you joy? Things like that. But then we all need to have functional things that like the
Mhm.
washing machine, not beautiful to look at, but that
Mhm.
is something we all pretty much need unless you don't need it and you can go to a laundromat. But
Mhm.
we need things that are beneficial and supportive, functional. We need things that are beautiful and we need things that bring us joy.
Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your human design guide.
And I'm Haley, on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to the Human Design Hive podcast. I am your host, Dana Phillips. I am starting this episode solo today because we do have another guest joining us for today's podcast. We're going to be bringing in Brittany Berman, who I just absolutely love. Brittany is a 2/4 splenic manifester and Feng Shui expert who's going to introduce us to the ancient Chinese practice of basically harmonizing the energy flow in your space. And she really breaks down how it really isn't about just decorating, but it's about creating environments that support and nurture you and your home and those in it, I should say. So we're going to be digging into really fun topics here. You're going to be talking about like how important the energy is around the entrance of your home or the kitchen in your home, how energy flows through your home, the significance of bedroom spaces in your home, how to set up like your home office for optimal energy. We're going to be talking about all of these things, which is a lot of fun. But before we do that, because it's such a good episode, I want to get right to it. But before that, I just want to also remind you that you can now get your Human Design Guidebook on my website. Show notes will give you the link there. But basically, this is a completely customized report made just for you and your human design, or you can give it as a gift. But it's going to cover all aspects of your design type, strategy, authority, your definition, your centers, your profile, your channels, your gates, your incarnation cross, all of it is in this one report. They all generally come out to be about, at least I say 55 pages is a safe place to start. I just did one today that was like over 65 pages, but it's really something that I created as a go-to resource for you along your human design journey. So even if you're new to human design, this is a great introduction because it will tell you everything about your design. But if you've been on the path a little bit of human design, it's still a really good thing to pick up because your design doesn't change. And as you go through life, you may change. But this really is a way to help, kind of come back to and see if you're kind of on track, on path, because especially with your gate energies and aspects like that, it can show you in this guidebook, when you're feeling a little more in balance or out of balance, like how that expresses. But it also really helps you recalibrate for your type and your strategy. So it's really just a go-to resource for you, no matter where you are on this journey, because it's something that you're always going to go back and refer to. Because I know that, I've been looking at my own design probably for well on 7 years now, and I'm always learning something new. And it can take a long time to get a lot of this stuff kind of committed to memory, like even what your body graph looks like, to know what gates and channels you have. So I know as you're listening to me or you're listening to other podcasts or whatever it is, you're reading books about human design, you can have it right there with you at any time to know, oh yeah, I have that. And what does that look like? So I hope you go check that out. And of course, I'd also love to work with you one-on-one, going through your chart, looking at your design, and seeing if I can't help answer some questions for you or help guide you in certain areas of your life based on your human design. So back to today's episodes. One of the most interesting things I found was this overlap between human design and Feng Shui, because it is about environment, which we talk about a lot in human design, especially the G Center. So we dig into that aspect, and Brittany's just really, really so engaging, and she's going to share lots of practical and actionable tips for us that you can start implementing right away to improve the energy in your space. So, one thing I want to mention before we get into it is we did record this episode back before Christmas. So, towards the end, you will hear us talking about Christmas decorations. But I think I decided to leave it in there because even though we are well past Christmas now, it's good to consider for next year or for any time you're decorating for the holidays in your home. So I hope you enjoy that little tidbit too. So I just think we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So I'll catch you on the other side of the interview. Okay, well, hello and welcome. We have a guest today. Haley and I are really excited to talk to our new friend and guest, Brittany Berman, who is a Feng Shui expert. Welcome, Brittany. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
It is. And on both ends, because Feng Shui is something I've always been really interested in. Haley, have you ever looked into any parts of it?
Not particularly, but I do like those reels of people going through feng shui does continuously show up on my Instagram.
Oh, so maybe you should be aware of
I
it.
think so.
Okay, well, that's good.
It's definitely pulling you into its orbit.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. No, I find it very interesting because it is all very much about your energy and aligning with the energy and using your environment to help you set the right tone. So I am a novice. I don't know really how to explain it. So Brittany, why don't you go ahead and give us a quick overview of what Feng Shui is?
Sure. So Feng Shui is an ancient Chinese discipline. And basically, Feng Shui means wind, water. So basically, you could break it down into flow. So the flow of energy through a space, the flow of energy through your environment. So this is something that is more in the metaphysical world. So logically, we can see how we walk through a space and if there are things in our way. But Feng Shui is really harmonizing the energy flow of your environment.
That's really, I love it.
um,
I do. And so have you been doing this a long time, or how did you come into this world of Feng Shui? How did it get its hold on you?
yeah, no, I've always been interested in space design and whatnot. But when I was younger, about in my 20s, my grandmother gave me a book that was in her collection, and it was a Feng Shui book. Actually, I think I have it.
Mhm.
Yes, I always have it. And it's like an
Oh.
old Feng Shui. It's like the practical encyclopedia of Feng Shui. And it was one of those books that I kept and I read it and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. But I went through my life, I went through school, not doing anything with Feng Shui. But it was always in the back of my mind. And I always loved to incorporate Feng Shui practices in the spaces I lived in, my apartments, home, whatever. So it was just always something I had an interest in. It was more like a hobby, a personal hobby.
Mhm.
And then about 2 years ago, after having a couple kids and realizing I wanted to do something for myself, I started picking up Feng Shui a bit more and a bit more. And then I finally decided to do this as a business. And so last summer, I launched a website with branding and a business called my own. And here we are
Mhm.
doing
And
it.
yeah,
Doing it.
and your business is Serenity in Shui.
Yes. So it's
Feng
called
Shui.
Serenity and Shui. Yes,
It's
I
like
know. It's almost a tongue tie.
I forgot how to say Shui if it wasn't attached to Feng.
Serenity and Shui. Yes, yes. Some people say
Yeah.
Shui. But yes,
Yeah.
Feng Shui, Serenity and Shui is my business. So
Mhm. Well, I wanted to ask because I had a question come up. So you said when you were learning about it and it was just kind of a fun thing that really took hold, and you said as you would use it in your environments as you moved along. So what was like your number one like non-negotiable if you were moving into a new space? Because when you're younger, you may move around a lot more. What was the most important thing for you when you were moving into a new space?
yeah, for me, I am really, I mean, interior design wise, I really gravitate towards open spaces. So I think this probably has something to do with my human design chart.
Mm-hmm.
But so I need a lot of movement and need a lot of light, open spaces. So for me, having a space that had a lot of natural light was really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Feng Shui, that's one of the main principles is that we want to utilize natural light in any way that we can. So that's a yang energy. It makes us invigorated, gives us energy, windows allow the positive energy to come into our homes. So that was something that was really important to me to have.
Well, that's awesome.
I
And
feel that.
since yeah, since you
Right? Yeah.
since you mentioned your chart, we will let everyone know that Brittany is and Haley, I don't know if she knows this or not. She's a 2/4 splenic manifester. And of course, as we first connected, I had to look that up, and I just loved looking at her chart because completely open head and ajna. She's just got the real ability to be inspired and I think walk into any environment and just receive what's there and kind of pick up on the energy and know what to do, know what people need. And so I I wanted to, when we first started talking, I've always been curious about feng shui and human design and an overlap there because Haley and I, we talk a lot on the podcast about, of course, getting into an alignment. And it's really important for especially people who have an open G center because that is the center for love and direction and identity. And an important component of that energy center is in human design, it teaches that this is where the magnetic monopole lives. It's here in the heart center. And it's basically attracting to you what it is you need along your journey, right? To kind of move you along in life and what's going to be good for you coming in. And I think it's really important because we always talk about you're going to be attracting to you what it is you're feeling. So I'm sure there's a lot of that component to your work, is there not? About like creating a space for manifestation. Well, manifestation, I don't know how I want to say that. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think your environment is your entire information field. So what you see, hear, smell, touch is information that goes into your body and it's processed. So what you surround yourself with really does affect your thoughts, your behaviors, your mental outlook. So it's so important, I think, to surround yourself with things that are inspiring, things that are full of love, things that are beautiful, things that are clean and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So absolutely, I don't think people these days we get so boxed into our homes and into like screens that we don't realize what is actually in our space. And so that's kind of one of my goals here with spreading the word of feng shui is to reconnect people with their environments and be mindful of what they put in their environments because it really does affect your life.
And I love what you said that it's not just like visually what you're seeing. There's other layers to it, right? There's
Absolutely.
um what you see here, what how would you, when I think about what you're hearing in your environment from a feng shui perspective, like how does that work? Do you put certain elements in the environment or remove things or
Yeah, and some of this is so hearing if you have music can be if you like to listen to music, what kind of music are you listening to? Do you have a really noisy refrigerator that makes a clink, clink, clink all the time? That affects your
Mhm.
mental, that can be irritating and that can be irritating in the space that you
Mhm,
live in all the
mhm.
time. Also, things that you listen to, you expose yourself to in general. So if you watch the news, if you watch certain types of movies or that kind of thing. So if you're hearing all this information that comes in, so it's not just what's in your home, but if you have a TV in your home with the news on constantly, that is flooding your whole being.
Oh my
So
gosh. Tell me about it. How often do you walk into your grandparents' or your parents' house and it's just like continuous like TV? No, I went to my visit my
Mhm.
dad back in March and it 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 didn't even matter what was on. There was just always something on. And probably because he's hard of hearing, it didn't really bother. But he would just be like, "Meh," and I was like, "Oh my gosh." It's like an open portal almost coming into your home that you have to be really mindful about. And so when we do talk about the G center, your center for direction, that monopole, there are certain, like I said, people that have it undefined, so they're going to be way more influenced by their environment. Obviously, we all are, but they can kind of what we say is that if the environment feels off, either the environment's wrong or the people that are in the environment are incorrect for you at that time, or they're just not going to bring to you the things that are good, not good for you, but going to be beneficial to you. Let's say it like that. And so we always suggest, if you can, change your environment, or if you're going to be moving to a new house, can you go be in that house or walk around that house? But especially in this day and age, I know there's a lot of people who can't just move because someplace feels bad. They might be budget limited or whatever, or obligations. So what we want to talk here about was what are some things that people can do in their environment, and like what are your top things that you usually look for when working with people to immediately kind of shift that energy.
Yeah. So when we first start out in Feng Shui, there are several core principles that I kind of recommend off the bat. And usually these are for people who don't know about Feng Shui, who have an interest, don't know where to start. And so, what I recommend usually is to start with your entrance. So, this
Okay.
is your front door, the pathway to your front door, what's in when you first open your front door, the entrance to your home. So, this is actually the mouth of what we call chi, which is the
Mm,
good energy that enters your space.
cool.
So, allowing that chi to come in your home is like the best thing that you can do right off the bat. So that's keeping your entrance clean, allowing the door to open and close if it's squeaky or even broken. Try and address that, get that fixed, make sure there are not huge piles of shoes everywhere. As a mom, I struggle with that every day.
Mhm. Is that for every entryway into your house?
It's mostly the front door, which
Okay, good.
is, yeah, it's
That's my clearest entryway. It's right over here. All
yes.
the other two are not so great.
Not as much. Yeah. What I do recommend, if you are able to, is have a clear path from your front and back door.
Mm,
That way, when you open your front door, you can also open your back door. So you let the good energy in your front door and the negative energy can
mm,
leave through the back door.
mm.
So if you have a side door, that's fine too. But that's one of the best things you can do to refresh the energy in your home is actually have that entrance nice and clean and clear, allow that energy in, and then allow the negative energy and stale energy to leave through the back.
That is something I did because we a couple of years ago replaced the front door, and then we put in one of those beautiful glass doors that pull down so there's a screen so you get some
Mm,
airflow going
yeah,
through.
that's great.
And
Yeah.
I live in an older style ranch home. Haley's obviously very familiar. She grew up here. Pretty much an open path to the back door.
Okay.
But that's something what I try to do when the weather's nice enough around here and it's not too humid is that a good thing to actually open windows and let air flow through as far as moving energy through as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Opening your windows, opening your doors, especially when it's summertime and it allows it. We are covered with snow, but I will open my doors today, no matter what the temperature is, even for
Mm,
a couple minutes. That's one of
mhm.
my things that I need to do every day just to keep the energy flowing in the home.
Well,
Uh,
Haley, yeah, Haley, remember what was it? It was in Manitou or somewhere there in Colorado Springs when how all the people that had moved out to Colorado at that certain time that had like all the respiratory
Mm,
issues,
mhm.
and a lot of times older 100 years or so ago, even in the dead of winter, not just in Colorado, but in other places, they would suggest,
Naps on the
yeah,
porch.
yeah, keep the windows open so at least something could
yeah.
could come through, or even I am going to tell you, I saw your grandfather Haley. He passed last year. He was 90 something, but in his baby book, they talked about
Oh,
like
yeah.
leaving the baby. Where was it? Like outside the window. They would have like little cots or something near the window, and the baby
Yeah.
to like always have the cold air on the baby. I was like,
The
oh,
fresh air. Yeah, I used to do that with my kids. Just put them in the stroller and they fell asleep when I'd leave them outside.
leave them outside.
Under watchful eye, of
Of
course.
course, of course, of course. We
But
never doubted it. Okay, so the entryway. So that's one first, position. Haley lives in a well, your apartment is open, like
Mhm.
most open concept
Yeah.
apartments are these days, but
hmm
you definitely have that clear path, right?
Yep. I can stand in the middle of the living room and see both doors.
Nice, nice. So one thing I do want to say with a little bit of a caution. So sometimes there can be such a clear path from the front to the back door that
Mhm.
the energy can move too quickly. And that's
Mm.
called a railroad house. And so one of
Oh.
the things that we actually want to do is reflect the chi around the room instead of going straight through the front to the back door, because
Mhm.
it's almost like a water current. So if it goes
Mhm.
straight through, then you're not going to get that good energy circulating in your home. So there are different ways to kind of propel the energy around the room, and whether that's by plants, mirrors, like mirrors facing the front door, but we like them maybe perpendicular to that front door to try and
Mhm.
bounce it into the
I do have
room,
that.
things like that. Good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
I
by
do
the front
too.
door, I have a mirror that's like the door's
Yeah.
here and the mirror's here. So it's like
Yeah,
looking into the kitchen.
I do too. Right
Perfect.
there, there's one that reflects into my office, and
Exactly. Yes. You want it kind of to spread the energy around the room. And so that's great that you already feel that. You already intuitively knew to put the mirror there. I feel like as women, especially, we're really intuitive. So this should all make sense.
Yeah.
feels like the natural flow. Okay, so what's another one?
So the second one is, like I kind of mentioned with the hallway, is to declutter your space. So when you walk into a room and you see piles of paper, piles of clothes, just a box that hasn't been unpacked since you moved in, just things that they all hold energy. So this is called clutter. We all know that clutter. And one of the biggest rules in feng shui is to minimize your clutter. So be intentional with what is in your space. And I know
Mhm.
that this is something that we all struggle with. I have a huge pile of mail that I need to go through, but it's something to keep in mind. You don't have to do it every day. It doesn't, feng shui is not about being perfect. It's a practice. So you do it every day and in little ways to just help reconnect to your space and your life. So
Mhm.
getting rid of those piles of papers, getting rid of that pile of clothes that has been sitting on your chair in your bedroom for the last week.
Mhm.
Decluttering, getting rid of the stuff that you don't use anymore.
Mm.
I just did a post on Instagram about getting rid of a gift, even though it was given to you. We always tend to keep things out of guilt.
hmm
However, that's not necessarily good for us. And if it doesn't
Mhm.
resonate with your life, it's okay to get rid of it. The sentiment was received and you don't need to keep it out of guilt. So
That is one of the hardest things, and something, yeah, you definitely have to look at why you're keeping things, because like when Haley was younger, I was in young mom mode, and a lot of it was probably just boredom mode, and it was before I started yoga and also this stuff of getting more mindful, and just trinkets, just picking stuff up at Pier 1 or Target or wherever, right? And I am not a decorator at heart. I would, people say, "Oh," they come in my house, "Oh, it looks very it's so comfy and lived in," and I'm always like, "Yeah, I do live here. It's definitely not a staged home." But over the years, I've definitely stopped doing that, picking up new things unless it's really needed, except for plants, which I know those are good. But the tendency to wanna hold on to things, which is
Mhm.
another thing, like if, somebody has a undefined spleen center, that center, energy center, is one of the things that they like, things that or they tend to hold on to people and things, situations longer than what's good for them, because even though it's maybe not healthy for them, it creates a certain amount of safety and security around them, and so, that's interesting that you mentioned, holding on to things out of guilt or maybe a sense of comfort. Do you find that's one of the harder things to do with people, is to get them to declutter and kind of decide what they can get rid of?
Absolutely. I think some people don't even realize how much clutter they have in their homes just because, it's always been here. It's always been on this shelf with all these other things. And
That's my husband.
yeah, they just become blind. People become blind to it. And that's just how
Yeah,
it is. And
I'm guilty
it's
too.
not hurting them. So it's not,
Mhm.
it doesn't seem to bother them. But yeah, I think when you really start to look at your space and to look at what is in there and is it serving you? Is it beautiful? Does it bring you joy? Things like that. Then we all need to have functional things that, like the
Mhm.
washing machine, not beautiful to look at, but that
Mhm.
is something we all pretty much need, unless you don't need it and you can go to a laundromat. But
Mhm.
we need things that are beneficial and supportive, functional. We need things that are beautiful, and we need things that bring us joy. So those are my 3 Bs. So if you're looking at your home, you can ask yourself, is this beneficial? Does it support a need that I have, like a washing machine? Is it beautiful? Do I like to look at it? Or does it bring me joy? Like, this reminds me, this is a picture of our family vacation, and it makes me very happy. Things like that. But yeah, people are blind to kind of what's in their home to begin
Yeah.
with. And then they realize how much stuff that they have that means nothing.
Mhm. I
Mhm.
am definitely guilty of that. Like, I'll try to clear it out of my actual environment, but, Haley, like the bookshelf over the desk next to the fireplace, which
Mhm.
was all this collection of, like, family photos, and it was always driving me nuts because they didn't match and they were all just a jumble and they were hard to dust. And then so I actually kinda went all out and just took them all down and put most of them in a box, and then I was leaving the space empty to just kinda figure out what I wanted to put there, like a few photos, and do you know how quickly it filled back up? Because my husband would come along and start putting stuff back on that shelf. Especially after his parents died within a year of each other, like, especially,
No.
oh my god, he has this his mom used to do those marionette puppets
Oh
Oh,
god, that
at
puppet.
church, and
Oh, I
he
hate that
wanted to hang
puppet.
one there, and I'm like,
It's
"Please
really
stop.
creepy.
Please stop." But he's definitely the source of clutter in our home. I am not immune, but, I know my part, but anyways, I think we're always shitting on your dad here, Haley.
he's not even here to defend himself.
Uh, he wouldn't defend himself, although he'd be like, "But remember when I needed that thing and I had one?" Because he's definitely a pack rat, he'll admit it.
Mm,
So, okay, so we've got the entranceway to your house, keeping that energy flow going, minimizing the clutter to kind of refresh the space or just not have, I guess, stagnant energy hanging around, right? Of
yeah.
things that are just gonna affect you negatively. And so what's something else?
Yes. So usually I say concentrate on the entrance, do a full house, not a full house declutter, but start doing the visual clutter. So if there's a pile of paper, if there's a laundry, whatever, doing that clutter. And then the next thing that I love for people to focus on is their bedroom.
Mm,
So the bedroom is a place of, it's your sanctuary, it's your
mhm,
rest area, it's where you go to for calm, for rejuvenation. It's really where your body needs to relax. And so many people's bedrooms have so much stuff in it. And a lot of us have storage issues. They need to store stuff underneath their bed or in their closets or
mm,
in their room anywhere. But this place really is one of those areas that I urge you to organize your storage if you can,
mm.
because sleeping, it's like one of the most important things we can do as
Yeah.
It's
humans
great.
to regulate our nervous systems, to regulate our health, our body, our mental health. So the bedroom is such an important place to concentrate your efforts. If you're taking a look at what's in your space, the bedroom is
Mhm.
really, really up there for me.
Yeah. Haley, I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask this question for you.
Uh-huh.
Haley's right now in her bedroom.
Yes.
It's very clean and neat, but it's also her workspace because they just live
Yes.
in a two-bedroom apartment and they both work from home.
Mhm.
Do you have any
Yes.
suggestions for that scenario to kind of shut that off or to just make it the bedroom or the workplace?
Yeah, I think this is really common nowadays because we have so many people that do work from home. I mean, I'm in my living room right now
Mhm, mhm,
because my husband's in the office, and
mhm,
exactly, it's the same thing. We're kind of working from our spaces. And uh, so one thing with your office being in the bedroom is that it can feel like you cannot disconnect. So I don't know if you feel that way, but I think a lot of people have a problem disconnecting from their work and resting, especially if they're looking at their bed or looking at their office, their desk from their bed. There's still like a stream of energy tied together because it's
mm,
not in a separate space.
mhm,
So I do recommend, if people can and have enough room, and I have worked on little designs for people. But if there's a little divider that you can put in between your desk and your bed, it can be a half wall or a curtain that goes across the ceiling that you can pull open and shut. That actually works really well. Or just putting away all of your stuff at the end of the day. So you put away your laptop, you put away your notebooks, you put away your whatever you have that you work with. So it's not in the visual realm when you're trying to fall asleep.
Mm.
So things like that, like little things like that can really make a big difference, especially if you have your office inside your bedroom.
Haley, does that
Yeah.
affect you at all? I mean, I know you're pretty good at setting your boundaries, since this is one benefit for her learning all this human design stuff is made her, she's a projector, to set clearer boundaries between work and not work. But do you ever feel that in your bedroom?
Not particularly, but I do have like a pretty set routine at the end of my day that I think kind of like closes everything off for me. Like I always close my computer, I close my notebook,
Do you turn it
and
all
then
the way off?
yep, I shut it down completely every night. And then I always push my chair in underneath my desk. So it's like almost creates like a wall kind of the screen and kind of like closes in my desk space.
Mm, very nice. Very
That's
nice.
great. That's so great. Yeah. Because you definitely want that division here. And that's
And
awesome.
that would be why you work in your bedroom and Presley has the whole other bedroom, because I don't
Yes.
think it would. Her husband's he likes to work. He's a
Loves it.
generator and he is always thinking about work and everything else. So it's good that his work environment's in the other room. So speaking of work then, so what about like an office space in general? Like if you do have an office space, do you have any recommendations there? Because a lot of people do work at home, but they have home offices.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest, I think, tip for working in an office, in your home office or any type of office really, is how you place your desk in the room. And in Feng Shui, we want to have our desk in what's called the command position or the power position. So when
Okay.
you walk through the front door to your office, where you're sitting, where you're at your desk, you want to be able to see anybody who walks through that door. So you definitely don't want your desk, your back to be to the door, the entrance to the office. That leaves you vulnerable for surprise. This is an ancient practice, so it's like you could be attacked.
Yeah.
So you want to see clearly whoever is walking into your office. Now, you don't need to be directly in front of the door. It could be on the side, but
Yeah,
you
that's
want
right
to
there.
make sure that you see anybody walking through.
Mm-hmm.
And you also want to have a free flow around your desk. So, you want to be able to kind of walk on all sides if you can. You want your back to be up against a solid wall, so not against a window. Um, a solid wall is very supportive of the energy around you. So window is a little bit more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I love crystals for offices. I know you said you are interested in crystals a little bit.
Got her whole wall over there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I distilled it down. I do have a giant, is it in here? Oh yeah, it's in the corner. I have one of those giant amethyst
Awesome.
geodes over there. But yeah, I don't know where to put it a lot of times. Well, that's interesting because my desk right now, there's a window here, obviously for the light, and I put it there for the light, but also to be able to look outside, because I
Mhm.
do like to kind of unfocus sometimes and look outside at my tree.
Yeah.
But I'm in a corner. Is that not a good flow of energy? Like in front of me is an actual wall and a little half wall, and then you can see my door is here.
The door's right behind you.
Yeah, it's a pocket door that goes out to the entryway.
I see.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I can tell when people are coming in, and this also doubles as a guest room.
Yes. Yes. Great use of space. Yep.
Yeah. Would it be a better flow, a different way? I don't know. I was just curious about that. I do like facing the window though. Does that have any implications?
Yeah, I think facing the window is great. I think you get the view, you get to see outside. I actually love that you can face a window because you have that natural light, you have the nature connection. I think that's really great. Yeah, I think like it would be interesting to see your floor plan and take a
Well,
look. But yeah, I think being able to see out a window is actually very important and very beneficial mentally. So that's a good position. But yeah, depending on where it is, it looks like it's right next to the door. Maybe, yeah, we could shift some things around, but we'll.
yeah. Well, I did look up, because this is something I looked up in Feng Shui before years ago. Feng Shui before years ago, not 4 years ago, which is the Bagua map. Is that how you say it?
Yes. Bagua. Yep.
Because
Yeah.
you said you would like to see the floor plan of the house, and so there's Haley, have you ever heard of this before?
Mm-mm.
Bagua.
No.
So why don't you explain to Haley what that is, if you don't mind?
Yes. So in Feng Shui, we usually, when people want an analysis, so I do home analyses for people who are looking to get a really in-depth read on the energy in their homes. And so how we do that is we take your floor plans and we divide your home into 9 specific areas based on compass directions. So that's which way your home is facing, when it was built, that kind of thing. We could do a whole analysis based on these certain factors.
Mhm.
So the Bagua map outlines all of the 9 directions, or 8 directions rather, including the center as well of your home. So there are 9 different areas of your home. And so each of these 9 areas and 8 compass directions represent an area of your life. So I can run through all of them if you'd like. It's a
Well,
really detailed experience
yeah,
to
I'm
kind of
sure it
break it
is.
down.
Yeah, no, I'm curious because I did look it up because I saw it's on your website. You have a page that has the Bagua map on there of the different centers, and I was curious. I think I am facing, my house faces almost directly southeast because I got out my compass and I'm walking around the house to see which direction everything
Good
is.
for you. Yes, that's exactly what you do. Yep.
And I mean, almost dead southeast, like south, that's east. So
Mhm.
that, and that's where my office faces too. So is it off topic to go through what those areas are in your house real quick, or?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I can list them out. I do have, like you said, a Bagua map on both my Instagram and my
Okay.
website. So, if anybody's looking for more detail on that, but I can start with the north and
Hmm.
go around there. But
Hmm.
anyway, this north of your home is focused on your career, your business, your life's journey. So, this is really important if you're looking to increase the energy in your career, support your career. You want to focus on the north area of your home. So if that's a bedroom, decluttering it, keeping it tidy, going through everything that's in there, seeing if it supports your life, that kind of thing. So, and this will be true for any of the areas that I talk about. So the north is your career. The northeast is your knowledge and skill building area.
Hmm.
The east is your family and community area. And I love to keep like family photos in this area. If it's like in a living room, that's
Hmm.
even better. So the east is family and community. The southeast is your wealth and prosperity and abundance zone.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
making sure there's a fly in here. Oh, it's like the middle, it's like winter out.
I know.
Anyway, wealth and abundance as the Southeast. So that's super important for most people. We all have got to live, we all got to make money.
Hmm.
So making sure there's nothing broken in this area, the energy's flowing, etc. The South is your fame, reputation, recognition, not necessarily fame, like I'm going to be a star, but it's like your recognition in the community. So this is important, especially if you do things like are on social media or doing a podcast. You want to have a good reputation and a good and
Hmm.
recognition for what you do. The Southwest represents your love and marriage. So that's your love sector. So
Hmm.
if you're in a relationship or you're looking for a relationship, this is a great area to focus on to up the love in that area. The West is for fertility, children, and new beginnings. So it's almost like your creative area
Hmm.
where you create, and it's also the children's area.
Hmm.
And the Northwest is for helpful people and travel. And then in the center is the center, and
Hmm.
that's your overall health, your physical, mental, emotional health and well-being.
Hmm. So you can't really help what position your house is in and like the floor plan, right? Like
Right.
you get what you get. And so if you're trying to, would you then, like you said about career, if it was the north quad or north part of your house, you would just focus on clearing that energy in that way? It's not like you actually have to like work out of that environment, or the same for other things, like you said, the reputation or whatever, because that's like, I think in my house, that's your old bedroom, Haley, is kind of that direction. So what would you work, I know you love working with crystals and stuff. So like if it's in an area of your home that is like somebody else's bedroom, but you want to improve your energy in that part of your life, like how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's a child's bedroom, I think you can, crystals are something that you can just put in there to help.
Mhm.
In my home analysis,
Mhm.
so I offer a service that does an entire home analysis. So it'll say what energies are where. And the remedies that I recommend don't necessarily have to be seen.
Mhm.
So when I do the analysis, there's 5 elements that we need to balance in our home, which
Mhm.
is like water, metal, wood, earth, and fire.
Mhm.
And so when we do these analyses and we see what's inside the home, and let's say your north needs your south needs a little bit of metal, we can do things to put metal in the room so it doesn't actually impact the person living there as long as they're
Mhm.
okay with having this metal in there. It can be kind of hidden somewhere where it's out of
Mhm.
sight. So feng shui doesn't necessarily have to do a lot with reorganizing your space. You don't have to buy new furniture. You don't have to
Mhm.
move all this stuff around. It really is the energetic work that I am interested in that
Yes.
actually really changes the space.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that because it is like a deeper layer and also makes it, I think, way more accessible to people, that knowing that it's just these small tweaks that are really shaping the energy in the environment, that you don't have to actually, like you said, go whole hog at once and buy everything new and do all this other stuff. It's
Yeah,
more
renovate, break down walls. No, no, no.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you're building a new house, yes, I think you
Yeah,
should look into
oh,
that.
wow.
But
Yeah, that would be awesome if you knew that for sure. Um,
Mhm.
and so I know I kinda got you off topic there on the Bagua. Were there other aspects we were coming back to the entrance, the clutter, the bedroom, the home office? Oh, I know one that you were talking about was the kitchen area
yes,
of your home. What
yes, the
about the
kitchen
kitchen?
area, it's so important because it's such a gathering space for people. When we have people over, usually we like to involve food, and the kitchen is a place where we create things. So it's a source of social gathering, creation, that kind of thing. So having the kitchen, it it's the heart of the home in feng shui. So another place that good energy comes into the home is actually through the stove or your range area.
Mm.
So actually keeping the stove in working order and keeping it clean as you can. I know we all use it and,
Mhm.
can't clean it every single time, but keeping it relatively, well, first of all, operational and then relatively clean can really encourage that good energy to enter your home. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a really important place. It's a place of alchemy. So
Mm.
not only is it a
Oh.
social place, but it's a,
Mhm.
yeah.
I do love
Did
that now. Yeah,
that?
that when you said the place of alchemy, is like, oh yeah, because you do take like it is a creative space. That's what I always say when we talk about creativity. Like a lot of people that don't consider themselves to be creative, we're like every day of your life you're creating. You're creating through just your own expression of how you dress, how you carry yourself, and I said one of my favorite creative outlets is cooking because I do love to cook, and being in the kitchen and feeding people is like my thing. All of
Yeah,
our
nurturing. It's
gatherings. Haley's
yeah.
like, it's always like, okay, so when she comes to visit, it's like, all right, I think we always work backwards from like,
Uh-huh.
what's for dinner
Yep.
each night, so we know what we're gonna have, so we can plan accordingly of where we're gonna be when we eat and what we're eating.
Mhm.
Yes, and how
'Cause
long it takes to cook and
yeah,
all.
all that stuff, but I'll admit it's a little, it feels a little vulnerable and embarrassing to share that my kitchen right now, everything works, but it is in a seemingly perpetual state of, remodeling because we started the project, I think it was 2020, right before the pandemic hit, because we had to replace the floors, which I think a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people don't think about looking under your house for
Ugh.
what's happening. But there was some water damage, so we had to replace. And my husband does all the work himself. It was great. But then we decided, well, this is the perfect time to tear down some walls because I live in an old ranch style home. And the kitchen was kind of walled off, but now it's one big open space that I love. But
Mhm.
my kitchen part of it is not finished because we're redoing all the cabinets and everything else. And we just literally pandemic, everything got put on hold and got so expensive, and then it was just like, and so now it's good for me, it's functional. Like you said, I don't even really see it that much anymore until I think about inviting people over, and I'm like, "Oh god, no, they can't come in my kitchen." So I hope I'm not screwing the energy too much in my house by having a unfinished surface, let's say, of the kitchen, but everything else works. And I don't know why I brought that up other than to say I feel that connection to the kitchen. And it's one area that I definitely want to improve. Uh, went off
I
topic
mean,
there.
this isn't to like say you have to have your house in perfect working order to have good energy. That's not what feng shui is about. So if
Mhm.
you have to do renovations, you have to do renovations. Like it's more about the mindfulness as well. So that's half of it is what you surround yourself with in your environment, but it's also the mindset. Like you're improving your home. That's what you're
Mhm.
doing. So that's a
Well,
good thing.
yeah. Well, actually, and when I'm in my kitchen, because it opens to the rest of we have this very big addition to this house that Richard's parents built this house, my husband's parents. And so he grew up in this house and Haley grew up in this house. And like I said, it was an older ranch style house built in the 70s, but we did open it up. So we have this great room now because they added on to it. So it's a huge room. And when we did that, we intentionally lightened everything up,
Mm,
light gray, kind of actually reduced, I guess, the south facing windows. We used to have a lot of windows over there and it got too hot. But
But you know what?
mm.
Those
what?
windows were also perpetually dirty because they were old, and so they were always cloudy.
Yeah, that's true. You got to keep your
Mm.
windows clean, right?
Yes, yes.
I've been trying very hard to stay on top of my new windows because they're not as big either to just like, but I love walking in that room now because it does feel so open and light. And as such, working at a flower shop, I had access to all kinds of plants and someone who could teach me how to take care of them. So how important are living things like plants in your
Yes.
environment?
I love incorporating plants in my environment. I have a bunch of orchids behind me
Mm,
and
orchids, you
I
keep
love
them alive?
orchids. So I've had
In
like
Colorado? It's so dry.
these ones I think I need to water, but
Mhm.
none of them are actually flowering right now. But what I have found in having orchids is that they really love my crystals. And
Oh.
so unbelievably, I've had this orchid that bloomed for 6 months,
Mm,
and it's next to an orange calcite in a selenite bowl,
mhm.
and I swear it's the crystals because I don't do anything different, and these orchids somehow are so happy.
Mm.
I also think it's the energy in the home that keeps circulating, so I will say that's feng shui related as well.
Mhm, mhm.
But it just died, like, a baby a month ago, and it's already growing its little green buds again on
Wow.
the end of this little stem. And I am just looking at it right now, being like, I'm just so thankful that I have these plants. But anyway, plants in general.
Mhm. No, I get it.
Yeah, I'm awed by these little things. But
Well, I am too, because I was never good at, keeping plants alive.
I
There's
love
Haley's little
plants. I've
I
got
would
3 of
say
them on my window.
I used to
Here.
say I could keep humans alive. I was good at that. I was not so good at plants. But then, like I said, once I worked with a florist and would sell plants there, I got to learn a lot more of like, there's no one way to take care of a plant, just like people, they're different, which requires more water and which doesn't. And I can understand your affinity with your orchids because I have a violet that has just continued to look healthy and has bloomed a couple times, and that's just a miracle to me because I'm just like, "Oh my god, I'm keeping
It's
things
so
alive."
happy. It's so whatever you're doing, it's so happy where it
Yeah,
is.
because I have so much more sunlight in that room now too. There's, like, lots of sunlight, and they I know they're good for the air in your house, right? But
Yes.
they also just bring such a nice I don't know, they just make you feel good to have plants inside, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. Plants are representative of the wood energy in feng shui. And so that's an uplifting, active energy, which
Mhm,
is what we want, especially if your space feels a little bit low and
mm,
stagnant. Plants are
mhm,
such a great way to introduce a brighter energy into the space. So
mhm,
I love plants, in the dark corners, or not dark, but they do
mhm,
need some light, but in the corners that you don't go into, and it just helps the energy move, and it mimics nature. That's one of the core principles of feng shui is to kind of rebalance ourselves of mimicking nature. So having
mm,
nature in our homes
mhm.
is great.
I love that. And so I think, let's see, we've covered the entrance, the clutter, the bedroom, the home office, the kitchen, and all that other stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we unfortunately have to wrap this up?
I know. Those are my starting points. If you're going to start feng shui, started from the bottom. Here we go. This was your checklist.
Mhm.
You want to start doing these things on a relatively everyday basis. Choose a small task to do every day in either your entryway, your kitchen, your bedroom. Do some decluttering. Do some,
Mhm.
introduce a plant. Plants are great little ones. If you have a window in your bathroom, plants are great in your bathroom actually to prevent the
Mm.
negative energy going down your drains.
Mm.
So yeah, this is such a cool, like, I obviously love talking about this
Mhm. Mhm.
and it can go super deep, but yeah, and kind of focusing on if you want to look into the Bagua map and kind of realizing what areas are connected to the different areas of Feng Shui. So
Mhm.
I actually offer a map my home as well. If you don't understand it and you just like, I can't be bothered and I just want a map of my home.
Mhm.
That's something that I offer as well. But
Mm.
usually people, if they want to start, they kind of start looking at the different Bagua areas as well. So
Mm. That's really
anyway.
interesting. I did have one question, and this might be too much of a question, but it just, as I was looking at your chart, because as a manifester, your sacral center is undefined, and your will center is undefined, and your solar plexus and emotional solar plexus center is undefined. But
Seems
um,
complicated.
it's not. I had really a question around when I was looking at the emotional solar plexus, that yours is undefined, means you're a lot more sensitive to the emotions in an environment. And they always say to like be a screen, not a sponge, like try not to soak up the emotional energy, but to kind of just let it flow through. Are
Mm.
there supportive things that you can do in your, say you are emotionally undefined, that helps kind of regulate emotional energy in a home? Does that make sense? Or is that a thing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I will say I do resonate with that because I am very guilty of taking on other people's emotional energies and baggage onto
Mm-hmm.
myself. And this is something that I've worked on for years to try and put up
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, and it is very difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I've been working on. But in terms of feng shui, I think reducing tension in your home is really, really important. And this goes back to the concept of harmonizing the energy flow.
Mm-hmm.
So another concept in feng shui is not having things that are sharp. So things that are sharp, like sharp corners, sharp knives on your countertop that are like look like a
Mm-hmm.
weapon. We love circles, things like
Mm.
that. So to just keep the energy flowing. So just being more aware of what is impacting your environment, I think
Mhm,
will help you get back in tune with yourself and say, okay, I'm feeling this tension here. Why am I feeling all this tension? It might be this person, but it also could be magnified by this sharp cacti that's in my living room or something.
that is so
Mhm.
interesting. I could literally pick your brain for hours, I'm sure, and there is such a great connection here between the 2. I mean, and there is the Chinese I Ching is an element of human design. That's where we get all these archetypes and everything from within the system. The gates description and everything is from the I Ching. So there's definitely a connection there, but so you mentioned that you do in-home services. You're in Edwards, Colorado. For anybody that's lucky enough to be in close vicinity, Haley's still several hours away, I think,
I
from
know.
where you are. But our Colorado besties, I hope. So you're offering online consultations and services that people can work with you now? Is that something you wanted to chat with real quick or chat about real
Yeah, sure. Yes, I have two services that I'm able to do virtually. And like I touched on both of them before, but one of them is the Map My Home. So that
quick?
takes your specific floor plan and it maps out the Feng Shui Bagua map, the 9 areas onto your floor plan. So
Mhm.
you know that your north is in your kitchen and that is your career area, that kind of thing. So if people could do it themselves with a compass, but
Mhm.
if you have a tricky floor plan that's not quite a square or rectangle,
Yeah.
or it's just too confusing, I am here to help with that.
Mhm.
And then my second virtual offering is actually a home analysis. So I've talked about this a little bit, but that goes in depth into the energies inside your space. So
Mhm.
it involves your floor plans. It'll involve a list of bespoke remedies. It tells you all of what's kind of going on. So it's really cool. It's really transformational because
Mhm.
when I do this analysis and you get this information and you input these remedies into your space, it's like our powers combined, it just is this synchronistic, incredible transformation that really takes place. And it's hard to like describe because people are like, well, how can I change? I don't know. Like people don't understand it until they understand it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this is
That
really
sounds
life-changing. So,
that sounds
Human
amazing.
design.
I know. I'll say it's quite a lot of experience with human design too. It's just like,
right.
let's just clear all the distractions and all the stuff out of the way and just focus on who you are. And it's really simple. Just go with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I think that's so cool that like you can do that mental, like Feng Shui is the physical space aspect. And then human design is so interesting because it's the like mental decluttering. It's exactly like the same type of thing.
I love it.
Just
I know. I have my ideas are popping off. So we should probably rein this in. I think we'll definitely have another conversation here in the works. But I so appreciate you just coming on and making it so clear and simple and presenting it in a way that hopefully as you're listening, you can understand that you can start making these small tweaks in your environment to make it a little bit better for you or a little bit more flow. Anything that you picked up in particular, Haley, that you think you might make an adjustment or
I'm
an
not
addition?
sure, but I do have a question.
Okay.
So it's just kind of how I was thinking, like we're kind of approaching the holidays. So like how do you kind of approach holiday decorations in your home to kind of like, because I love like Christmas decorations. I love it, but like I don't know how you approach it to kind of still keep your flow of stuff.
Such a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. That's something that I think is a little tricky to navigate because everybody loves the holidays. Like we all love that. It's so dark. It's just something to look forward to. There's so many social things, happy meetings. It is something to be celebrated. And I think if it makes you happy and it does bring you joy and it's seasonal, I think that's okay. I'm not one of those stickler people that is like, no, don't be happy.
Yeah.
I do say that I wrestle with artificial plants. So including like garland or dried wreaths and stuff like that, just because they hold a dead energy. And I really do feel that. So one of the tips that I usually suggest, and people can take this as they will, you do whatever you want, but I like getting either live garland, which can be hard to come by, or decorating things with like twinkle lights more so than all the dead fake stuff.
Mhm.
So twinkle lights or ribbons or beads, things like that, I gravitate towards more. But
Me too.
we always get a live tree and decorate it, and it is still alive. It is, I don't know, it's one of those hard things that you want the balance, but you also want to honor the tradition of the holidays. So just being mindful of not collecting a million little Santas and putting them around or snowmen or whatever, and just being mindful of what is in your home and how you can make it joyful but maybe a little bit more simplistic. So
Yeah.
it's not a whole clutter thing.
I know. Haley did grow up with live trees because her dad we'd get a tree. My family, we never had live trees. My dad was not skilled in that way of being able to, or he just didn't want to be bothered with the mess of it. But our decorating here, Haley was always in charge of it because it was just a collection of like tchotchkes that got thrown into a box every year and then dragged back out. But I like what you said about the live things and garland. It is possible anywhere, even here. Like I said, the lady I used to work for, the florist, she gets live wreaths every year that people can, and they'll last a while as long as you don't like put it out on the front door in full sun. But it's really bad now that all that flocking they're putting on everything that looks like snow, the fake snow, of
Oh,
how toxic that stuff is. Yeah, you definitely don't want to bring that into
right.
your home for sure. But anyways, that was a good question, Haley. I appreciate you brought that up. But I think we do need to wrap this up to be respectful of everyone's times. But yeah, I just wanted to mention to check out Brittany's website, serenityandShui.com, which it'll be in the show notes. But also your Instagram is just chock full of great tips and easy explanations. And if you're watching this on video, you can see just how bright and vibrant Brittany is. And she's just like electric. And I just love it. And I just want to say, we didn't go into your design too much because the work that you do is so fascinating, but you are truly an embodiment of your design with your creative expression and the circuitry that's present within you, which is taking all these talents and refining it over time and really making a body of work is what I think you're doing. And I just really appreciate you being here today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. That was really sweet. And yay, I'm glad you felt so inspired.
I do. Okay, well, we'll wrap that up for now. So I really appreciate you again, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Brittany Berman. How awesome was she? I had so much fun talking to her, and I continue to talk to her on Instagram. I just love her content. There is, as I mentioned, there's so many helpful little tips in there, especially now that we are past the new year. I'm sure there's lots of impetus, things we've been talking about on the podcast about intentions that we might have in the new year. And one of them may be around your house and maybe rearranging, maybe getting rid of some things, maybe decluttering, just kind of freshening up the energy would be a good time to check out her content. Maybe check out some of her digital offerings that she was mentioning, like the Bagua Map. It's all very, very helpful. And I liked what she was talking about, you know, that Bagua Map, because I've seen it before and it was a little intimidating because I felt like, oh, all the things in my house are in the wrong spot. What do I do about it? And I love that she answered that question, that it's not so much about the activities going on in those spaces, but how can you really improve the energy in that space, maybe lighten it up, get the energy flowing through there a little bit more. And I found that to be really helpful. So I can only imagine what she could do if she like looked at your whole house and did a full analysis. And if I was in Colorado, I would definitely be having her come over because it would be just a lot of fun. And I love digging into all this stuff, as you know. So I really appreciate her being here. All her information is in the show notes. You can connect with her really easily. And before I say goodbye today, I just want to also remind you to check out the show notes, link to my Substack newsletter for the Human Design Hive. It is now the home of where the podcast lives over on Substack, where you can catch all the episodes over there if you need to, if you want to watch the videos. You can also see them on YouTube, but there's the full catalog there in Substack. And we have some fun things planned over there. You'll start doing some live Q&A calls or monthly calls with subscribers. So make sure you go check it out for now. At least get on the email list because that's free, and you'll get the podcast episodes delivered to your inbox every week if you'd like, and the transit update emails, and also any other exciting things we have coming up. So make sure you check that out. And I guess that's all I have for today. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and I really hope you take some action on some of those Feng Shui tips. There was a lot of good ones in there. But until next time, bye for now. You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.